Thank you for listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast, where we discuss everything there is to know about soccer, from the summer's biggest transfer rumors to the top games and competitions from all around the world. I am Ben.
And I'm Alex.
And this is going to be our first episode of the Soccer One. How excited are you? 1 to 10.
1.
I'm going to go 10.
Wait, was 1 the best or is 10 the best?
1's low.
1.
So you're a 1? I'm going to do a 10.
I'm at a 10, if not a 10.1.
I'm going to do 10, especially since 10 is like the iconic number in the sport.
That's very
Think about all the greatest players. They've
true.
all worn number 10. Pele, Messi.
Yeah.
Neymar wears number 10 for Brazil now.
Rooney.
I don't like Rooney.
I do.
Well, got to respect Rooney.
You know I'm a Manchester United fan.
Yeah, you got to respect Rooney, so I'll give you that. His
big
bicycle
bald
kick
head.
against City in the Manchester derby, iconic. That'll be played forever.
You know what's iconic is he looks like a grown-up like baby. That's how I see him.
Now that you mention it, I'm kind of visualizing his face, and I can get that. I understand that.
Yeah,
his face is always so red.
He's always been one of my favorite players, besides Bastian Schweinsteiger.
Yeah, a fellow Manchester United member.
He's my number one favorite player.
And they're on the same team, same club.
Right now, yeah. Well, my dad's full German, so besides the U.S. team, the national teams I pay attention to would be the Germany team.
Yeah, they're such a great team.
Oh,
defending
yeah.
World Cup champ.
There's so many players on that team. Unfortunately, Müller is retired. Goat says I'm a huge fan.
He's still playing, Thomas Müller.
Well, from the national team. Götze.
I don't think so.
Schürrle, Schweinsteiger, Nura.
Yeah.
So many players I'm huge fans of on that team, man.
Yeah, I love Mesut Ozil.
Oh, yeah.
Gotta be my favorite player.
Ozil's one of my favorite players
Definitely.
on the team. Probably behind Müller and Schweinsteiger being
So
number
crisp
one, I would
with
say.
the ball.
Yeah, he's killer, man. And it's just, but going back to Schweinsteiger, it's just a plus that he's on my favorite team now, coming from my two other favorite teams being the German national team and Bayern Munich. So
Yep.
Crazy for me. And
Yeah, we'll have to
play live last year with Manchester United on their U.S. tour. It was great. Be jealous.
I can't be jealous of Manchester United. I'm an Arsenal supporter.
They should naturally be born to be jealous of Manchester United.
No.
Fair response.
Well, we'll have to see how Germany does in the Euros, which is in 2 weeks, which definitely
leads us
we're both
to our
excited
first
for.
point, because I can't be as excited about USA Soccer now because their best player is sidelined.
Yeah, Jozy Altidore is set to miss the Copa America competition, which starts the beginning of next month. Their first game is going to be against Colombia, June 3rd. They're in Group A of the Copa America. And Jozy Altidore is going to miss the competition because of a hamstring injury.
Another hamstring injury.
Yeah, he's always injured, it seems like.
And did you see the play he got hurt on?
No.
He was taking a penalty shot, and he didn't pull up. He didn't pull up lame or anything like that. He took it, and then kind of he took it. It was a great shot that got blocked, and I think it was a dive block up to the top of the goal,
corner,
and then bounced back off of the pole. But he didn't look like he pulled up lame or anything like that. He just kind of walked, and then he immediately signaled.
He knew a recurring injury. His
yeah.
hamstrings have been problematic for him.
Yeah, he also had injury against Jamaica in 2011 of the CONCACAF Gold Cup. He missed the final, and then he had, of course, the one in the opener against Ghana in 2014.
Yeah, that happened really early in the game.
That was
so
disappointing. That was just so deflating, that game. I remember watching that one, and he came out, and I was just like, great.
I remember Dempsey scored in the first minute of that game,
yeah.
right off the bat.
And
if you were, okay, the game has started, we'll get a Coke, get a beer.
You missed it. Yeah, and all the excitement that you had from that about first 2-minute goal in the long run left when Jozy Altidore got hurt.
That was such an iconic game. I remember John Brooks scores in extra time to win the game for us against Ghana, and it was only fitting against Ghana that we won because they ended us in 2010.
Yeah,
in the round of 16, the knockout round. So
no, that was a really good game. There was a lot of good games that year.
Oh man, I want the World Cup to happen already.
Yeah,
I feel like we're getting a little mini one with the Copa Americas and with the Euros, but obviously
it's
separate,
not the same
so
as
it's
FIFA,
not the
though.
same. It's not the same as the World Cup.
We gotta wait a couple years.
2 more years, yeah. It's 2018.
It's gonna be a long wait.
Yeah. So with Altidore gone, what are you looking at as far as who's got to step up? He's one of our best goal scorers. Obviously, you still have Dempsey, you still have some other guys.
Dempsey's gonna have to be. I mean, like he always is. He's gonna have to be that leader in the on the team, and he's really gonna have to get guys going again. I like Jordan Morris a lot. I like Ethan Finley a lot too. Both young guys, both it's going to be on the young guys, which it almost always is. The U.S. team is a young team other than Dempsey.
Yeah.
And it's
Michael Bradley's a little up
yeah,
there.
Bradley. It's like Bradley and Dempsey. That's it. Of guy. And Bradley has never been the greatest player for the U.S. He's been a smart player. Being a coach's son.
He's pretty consistent.
He's consistent because he knows the game. And obviously Dempsey's very much of a legend when it comes to USA Soccer. But it's going to be the young guys that are going to have to step up. I feel like it's going to be some guys I probably don't even know at this point that are really going to maybe start hopefully contributing because it's the Copa America it's a pretty it's a competitive competition.
Yeah, some of the best teams in the world, let alone just in the Latin America region.
Exactly, yeah. And so it's going to be tough for the USA this year, I feel like, to make it far in the Copa America. But
they're definitely going to be in a tough group. They're in Group A with Colombia, Costa Rica, and Paraguay.
Yeah,
Colombia is ranked 4th in the world, have some of the best players in the world. Obviously, you got to worry about people like James Rodriguez, who plays for Real Madrid, which we'll actually talk about Real Madrid a little later in the Champions League final, which is on Saturday. And then you have Costa Rica, who actually got into the quarterfinal of the World Cup. Really surprised team.
Yeah, they got up there.
And then Paraguay. So Paraguay, the United States is going to have their hands full.
They have their hands full, especially with those first two, let alone adding Paraguay into the mix there.
And then they have to start off with June 3rd is their first game in the competition, and they have to go against Colombia, who's definitely the favorite to come out of the group.
Oh, yeah. They're if anything right now with the injury to Jozy, they might be the last team in that pecking order of teams that come out of the A group.
I feel like definitely they're behind Colombia for sure, and Costa Rica. Paraguay and USA are pretty similar, but only the top two teams come out, so they're going to have to do some work. And they're going to have to earn some points where they're not technically supposed to. Maybe against Colombia if they can get a draw.
Yeah, and I say they are at least, at the most, the third best team in that class. So we're really have to see how if they can just come out and surprise us. We don't know.
Yeah. So the Copa America is starting up next month. This game is actually going to be, I believe they're playing at Levi Stadium. So
awesome.
Yeah. So along with sort of the United States following the trend, the United States and Mexico are actually going to file a joint bid for the World Cup, which is going to be in 2026. So about 10 years from now. So it's going to be 3 World Cups away from the one 2 years ago. So what do you think about that? They have a lot of positive support already from the new FIFA president, Gianni Infantino.
It sounds like a really good idea. Combine the powers, kind of get that going. That sounds like a really cool concept and a good shot at getting it back out here again. It's been a little while since last was here, so that would be, and that's a cool concept too. I don't know if that's been really done before. So
the joint bid,
yeah. So that's, and you were saying too, if it doesn't happen, that the USA will bid on their own.
Yes, so if this bid does not go through with the joint bid, the USA are going to do a solo bid for the World Cup.
Okay.
Which, that's definitely really interesting because the United States is not known for its soccer, obviously.
Yeah.
But it's really growing in popularity.
Yeah, it's growing in popularity, especially over the last 5 years, I would say. And, of course, the skill level isn't the same between, say, the MLS and the Premier League.
Right.
And a lot of those leagues out there, but the popularity is growing. So, it only makes sense for us to want to push for a bid like that. I think it's a good idea, and it would be really interesting to see, and especially with Mexico, because Mexico is a huge soccer nation,
absolutely.
So.
I was just down there actually, and I was staying in Guadalajara, which is actually where Chivas play. And we were driving by the stadium, and you'd think Mexico's still somewhat of a developing country in some parts and some of the big cities, but it was a really nice stadium.
That's what I've heard. I've seen pictures of it. Obviously, I haven't seen it in person, but I've heard it's a really nice stadium.
Yeah, it was nice. I was surprised. It's kind of curved over. I don't say like a dome, but an enclosed seating area.
Kind of like the Earthquakes? The Sounders.
Sounders from Seattle?
No, I'm thinking, who did... It's the Manchester United game I went to this summer. I want to say it's
San Jose Earthquakes.
Yeah.
San Jose.
Yeah, and their stadium is kind of like that, where it's rounded over and kind of enclosed, but not enclosed.
Yeah, so definitely, I'm thinking about it. We have 10 years from now until this World Cup. Say, as if the United States were to have get it, that'd be awesome. I'd definitely be trying to go to a few games.
I'd wonder where they would have it.
Well, as far as Mexico goes, I'm not too sure. I don't really know about a lot of places. But in the United States, I could see tons of venues. I mean, you have Levi Stadium now, who is already having some soccer games. You know, they had some last year. They have some coming up this summer. A lot of the European teams come over for their basically like a preseason kind of thing.
Yeah, like last year. And,
right.
And not to mention the push that the MLS is really doing to expand its league. That can only mean possibilities of more stadiums.
Exactly. So they're adding
And
another
markets.
LA team, which is actually supported by Will Ferrell, which is LAFC, and then they're adding a Miami team, which is supported by David Beckham, who's
Obviously
definitely, as a
huge
Manchester
name.
United fan, you know he's a legend. So
Oh, yes.
one of my favorite players, even though he
him.
is Manchester United, he's definitely one of my favorite players of all time. So.
Yeah, I'm very familiar with David Beckham.
Yeah, so I mean, I could see definitely a Levi Stadium option, maybe an AT&T Stadium in Texas. You know.
And it's only expanding the markets too out here, and the popularity too with the additions of these teams and possibly more. They want to add something like 8 teams in the next few years. So
yeah, I know St. Louis is coming up there. Minnesota's trying to get a team here in Sacramento. We're trying to get a team. We have the Republic FC, which is kind of like a minor league. I think they're the USL. So if we can get an MLS team, that'd be amazing.
yeah, it would just show to the people that are, I don't know who handles the bids, but it would just show that the market is actually really developing and it's something that could succeed here.
Yeah, I think the attendance would people would definitely come out for this. Not just necessarily travelers coming from other countries to watch their countries play, but Americans as well. Say Brazil is playing like Argentina. I could definitely see a lot of Americans there, not just at American games.
True.
Yeah, so I mean, and then you have 10 years from now where it would happen, you'd have so many new venues here in the United States that would pop up. LA's building a stadium, which is going to be for the Rams. There's a possibility that Vegas is trying to get the Raiders, so they would have to build a new stadium. These stadiums would be state-of-the-art. And,
Oh, yeah.
the technology would be there, that they'd be some of the nicest stadiums in the world.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking
and
at
it would support the games.
Yeah, you're looking at the Sacramento Kings new stadium, and it's the greenest stadium in the world. It's one of the most technologically advanced stadiums in the world, and it's a basketball stadium for a team that I love, but is not the biggest market or greatest team in the NBA. So you can only imagine what some of these bigger markets with more money and maybe more backing can do with a stadium.
Exactly. So, I mean, if Mexico and the United States were able to get a joint bid, I think that'd be great because you're kind of putting the two countries together, making it a little more diverse. But even if that falls through and we get just the United States as a bid for the World Cup, that'd be amazing, and it'd definitely be another way to add more popularity here in America because it's not necessarily there as opposed to other countries. So we'll be right back. We're going to take a quick commercial break, a word from our sponsors, and then we're going to jump into about the Champions League final, which is on Saturday between Real Madrid and Atletico Madrid. So thank you for listening, and don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Are you looking for help for your fantasy football team? Check out the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. Get today's best advice on who to start, who to sit, even who you should draft. From sleeper picks to red hot lineups, they got it all covered for you. That's GSMCpodcast.com/fantasy-football-podcast. We'll cover traditional leagues, dynasty, PPR, even IDP leagues. When you need fantasy help, there's just one show to hit up. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
All right, and we are back here at the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast. I am Ben, alongside Alex here. We're going to finish up a little bit here, mainly with the Champions League final, which is going to be this Saturday. It's going to be versus Real Madrid and Atletico Madrid. This is going to be the second time in the last 3 years that these two teams are meeting in the Champions League final, which is really, really astonishing because that means both of these teams are having to play against the best teams in the world, and they're both reaching the final two. And then last year, these two teams met again, which was in the quarterfinal. Both of these meetings, the meeting 2 years ago in the final and last year in the quarterfinal, Real Madrid came out on top over Atletico Madrid. So we'll have to see if Atletico Madrid can sort of say the third time's the charm and beat Real Madrid here in the final. What do you know about the teams, Alex? What do you sort of want to look forward to? What excites you about the game?
Well, I know Real Madrid is one of the best teams in the world.
Absolutely.
And they have obviously some of the best players in the world.
Yeah, they're gonna have the best player on the field with Ronaldo.
Yeah, on the field. I still think that Messi's the best player in the world right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Ronaldo's right behind Messi.
Yeah, I work with a guy who is he plays semi-pro ball, He's had some offers from the Republic out here. He's a pretty good soccer player from what I've seen, and his one of his favorite players is Ronaldo. And him and I always have this conversation back and forth if Ronaldo's the best, and I personally think Messi's the best right now.
Messi's a better player,
and I personally think the best player of all time is best in Spanish soccer, but whatever. We're not talking about that.
Oh, come on.
What we're talking about right now is Real Madrid. And yeah, no, Real Madrid is a deep team. I mean, they have Suarez too, right?
No. Suarez is on
thinking
Barcelona.
Okay, I'm thinking Barcelona. I do confuse them sometimes.
Yeah,
but
which is understandable.
I mean, either way, they do. I mean, both very good teams. But even with just having a guy like Ronaldo, you have, like you said, he's going to be the best player on the pitch the entire game.
Yep.
And that's, I mean, having somebody like that alone is a trendsetter. I'm not as familiar with Atletico Madrid and some of their players as I'm heavily usually interested in the Premier League and then international play, and then I do check the Bundesliga because I'm familiar with a lot of the names in that league. And every once in a while, I suppose I'll take a look at MLS.
MLS?
MLS. I would say MSL. Yeah, the MLS. Thank you. And kind of keep an eye on them. But so I'm not super familiar with Atletico Madrid, but I do know that Real Madrid has pretty much owned this series in the past, and
especially in the Champions League.
Yes, especially in the Champions League, and that just kind of leads me to believe that's where this is heading because from what I know, they seem like the superior team at this point.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting because I think it's going to be definitely a close competitive game just because the history between the two teams. They literally are in the same town. They play each other twice a year in La Liga.
It reminds me a lot of like City and United.
Yeah.
The same kind of crazy rivalries. And I didn't mean to cut you off there.
No, you're good.
But no, that's what it really reminds me of in that sense,
Yeah, it's going to be a really close game. These two teams know each other so well. I mean, I feel like even the last few times they've met, especially in the Champions League, I know it's only been a 1-goal margin. I know that Atletico beat Real Madrid in La Liga in February, 1-0. Their first meeting in La Liga was a 1-1 draw. So it's going to be a close competitive game. I don't see this being a blowout. I don't see it being lopsided. I probably think it's a low-scoring game. As you mentioned, Real Madrid is definitely the better side. Mm-hmm. They're a lot more deeper. They're going to have better players. They have Ronaldo. They're going to have Benzema up there. They're going to have Gareth Bale up there. The midfield with Modric. Mm-hmm. They're definitely going to have a better side. But I can never count out Atletico Madrid just because of how much heart, passion they play with. Their manager, Diego Simeone, is probably the most passionate manager in the world, in my opinion. He always is really, really loud, really aggressive, really passionate about the club, about the team. Mm-hmm. And then they have, in my opinion, one of the best up-and-coming players in the world, let alone strikers, in Antoine Griezmann from France. He has been banging in goals the last 2 years.
He's quite the player.
He went to Atletico Madrid.
Mm-hmm. Now, SPI has the percentage of chance for Real Madrid to win this at about 54%.
That's practically even. So, I mean, in my opinion, I feel like it's a coin flip game. So,
I think it's going to be the team that goes out there as a more brutal team. And when your coach is Zinedine the headbutt Zidane.
Yeah, I remember that from the World Cup.
I think you're the brutal team. You're the team that's going to go there and take it.
Definitely, Atletico Madrid have the advantage in the managerial output because Zidane has come in the middle of the season. He replaced Rafa Benitez, who now coaches at Newcastle United, but he replaced him and came in the middle of the season. So he's still a rookie coach in a matter of terms. He's only coached about half the season, but it's going to be such an intense game. I can't wait to watch it. The interesting part to me is can Atletico Madrid pull off, I guess you can consider it somewhat of an upset? Because
it would be an upset in that sense, yeah. I mean, if you look at it, like I said, the ratings have the percentage of the win percentage for Real Madrid is sitting at 54. So you see them as the favorite. And then you look at the history of their matchups in Champions League in the last 5 years. And they've really just handled business. So you would say they are the underdog.
Yeah, they've definitely come out on top the last 2 times in the Champions League over Atletico Madrid. With Atletico Madrid, I think the one thing you can't count them out on is the heart and passion because if you look at the quarterfinal, they met Barcelona. Who everyone's standard is the best team in the world. They obviously had
leaps and bounds.
Messi, Neymar, Suarez, Iniesta. The list goes on and on. PK, Jordi Alba, Dani
all
Alves.
all great players.
So the list goes on and on with Barcelona, and they actually came out on top of Barcelona and beat them. In the first leg, I remember Fernando Torres got sent off, so they're playing without a man against the best team in the world, which is just a heart attack. And they still came out on top in the second leg and won the game.
Yeah, it was a really impressive win for them. I would say you're not wrong. That goes a long way in soccer. You're in the heart in the game. I think it's gonna be a good game. I think it's gonna be a low scoring game.
Definitely.
If it's not a low scoring game, I don't see it as somebody pulling away. If it's a 4-point game, I think it's 4-3. You know what I mean? I see it. Yeah, I see it being 1 or 2 goals maximum on each side.
And then Atletico, they completed off another upset in the semifinals when they beat Bayern Munich.
Mm-hmm.
They had the away goal, which it was a draw, but they had the away goal in the second leg against Munich. So they advanced to the final. So they've knocked off definitely the best team in the world in Barcelona. Some people would argue that Real Madrid is better than Bayern Munich. I would say Bayern Munich this season were a better team. So I would consider them probably the second best team in the world. Mm-hmm. But then you'd put Real Madrid as the third best team in the world. So can Atletico complete sort of the trio,
the crown there,
of knocking off probably the 3 best teams in the world and win the Champions League final?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. As a fan, I'm rooting for penalties. But do I think it'll happen?
That's be tough.
My head tells me that Real Madrid are a better team, and somehow because they have players like Ronaldo, Karim Benzema, Gareth Bale, that they're going to find a way to win. But my head tells me that somehow Atletico are going to pull it out. Griezmann's going to score the winner, and they're going to finally top Real Madrid here in the Champions League.
It's crazy, too, because when you look at these kind of teams that know each other so well, it's almost like division football or baseball. You have a team like, say, the Seahawks, right?
Okay.
Really good team. Playoff team each year. Last year was weird, but say an 11-win team that plays maybe the Rams, who won 6 games last year. And they play, really close games. And oftentimes the Rams have won the last few years. It's, these teams so well, you can't look at it like, okay, they're the best team. We're the underdog. You know them better than other teams.
Exactly.
And that's really what this team teams. Yeah, that's really what this team is.
City for
exactly. And it's like every Manchester United game. It's the same thing. They know the team so well. They can walk if they played in a. There's
nothing you don't know about.
There's nothing they don't know about. Like they could walk to their game if it was like a mutual site because they're the same city.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Something tells me Real Madrid pulls it out, but something tells me Atletico find a way to win because it's their season. Their destiny. They beat Barcelona. They beat Bayern Munich. It's time they beat Real Madrid and win it.
Mm-hmm.
Something tells me about that.
It's about time. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like that. Like definitely Real Madrid are the deeper team, the better team. They're going to have a better starting 11. But something tells me the way that Atletico plays defense, they're going to get a goal, be able to really slow down players like Ronaldo, which no team can slow down Ronaldo. And I just see them finding some way to do it. They have the managerial, advantage, as we mentioned, with Diego Simeone as opposed to Zinedine Zidane. So
Zinedine, the headbutt Zidane. You got to call him by his full name, man.
The headbutt. And he has such a bald, shiny head.
That thing's like a weapon.
Exactly. Well, literally it was a weapon in that final against Italy.
That's what I mean.
So, I really do believe that Real Madrid will win the game, but then something tells me Atletico are going to win the game. So I'm just excited for it every time. This is basically the Super Bowl of world football here in Europe.
Yeah, and it's at 11:45 Pacific Standard Time too out here. So it's gonna be an earlier game. It could be way earlier.
The game's gonna be played in Milan.
It's good.
So
it's
a neutral site.
Neutral site.
Yeah, so I'm definitely excited for it. I can't wait for it. Champions League's definitely the most exciting competition in all of Europe, in my opinion. So enough with the Champions League. We're going to take one quick commercial break, and then we're going to be right back. We'll talk a little about Manchester United, Alex's team here. Got a new manager coming in and possibly a high-profile transfer. So we'll be right back. Thanks for listening, and you stay tuned for the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast.
Want to find out what movies to go see? Then check out the GSMC Movie Podcast. It's your ticket to the latest movies, whether it's a new blockbuster event, romantic, comedy, or action flick. This show has got it all covered. They talk some what to go see now, don't bother, what's hot on Netflix, and everything in between. That's gsmcpodcast.com/movie-podcast. When it's all about the movies, it has to be this new show. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit gsmcpodcast.com for more info.
And we are back here at the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast. Here with our last segment here, we're going to jump in a little about Manchester United. Alex, your team here.
My favorite team.
Your favorite team. They got a new manager coming in.
But I can't be a homer. I have to stay objective.
You have to stay objective. So
I'll
be watching you, making sure you don't get out of line.
Oh, I won't.
Okay, so we have Jose Mourinho reportedly coming in after Louis van Gaal was fired this week. I feel really bad for Van Gaal here. He takes a bad rep, trust me. A lot of his signings sort of fell through. Signed Memphis Depay, he hasn't really worked out. Signed Schweinsteiger, he's had some injuries this year, didn't really play that much.
Don't you talk about him like that.
I'm sorry. You got to say the truth, man.
No, he has had some injuries, and it's been it's been a generally off year for him. He's not playing at the level that he's used to and accustomed to, so no, I agree with you.
Yeah, so I feel like Van Gaal gets a bad rep, but he really did have a bad season. United really came on late and finished really strongly. They obviously won the FA Cup, which is the English domestic cup. They won that on Saturday against Crystal Palace. They won 2-1.
They sure did.
So he didn't have sort of a terrible reign in his 2 years at Manchester United. He did win a trophy this year. So,
look at who he had to take over for. You know,
yeah, obviously
you're taking over for a living legend.
Yeah, obviously David Moyes was there, and he didn't really work out well right after Alex Ferguson. But he does.
Yeah, and
he still is in the shadow of Fergie.
Yeah, that's what I mean. He was the guy. He was really. I mean, it wasn't long that Ferguson was gone before they even got another manager. Excuse me. So you're still. Any manager that's coming.
It's the legacy of Manchester United.
Yeah, even now, you're onto your third manager since him, and you're still, people are still like, oh, wish he was back.
Right.
It's going to be like that for a long time.
Yeah, so we have Jose Mourinho coming in. He used to be the Chelsea manager. He was fired during the middle of the season this year, but he did have Chelsea win the Premier League 2 years ago. So he's a legendary coach as well.
He's pretty young still. He's only 53.
Yeah, so he had a bad season at Chelsea to start this year, and then they got rid of him, and then Chelsea sort of found their form a little bit and came back a little bit. But I don't think Mourinho was really warrant of a fire when he was at Chelsea. I think that he definitely should have been able to rout this season and then have another one this year. But enough of that. So he is going to go to Manchester United, which that's definitely a boost for United. I mean,
yeah, I think it's a good coach coming
compared to Mourinho. Mourinho's definitely going to come in and change the concept of the team. He's definitely more of a defensive coach, likes to sort of take a goal or two lead and sort of ride it out, play defensive, slow. Reminds me of a lot of kind of like how the Spurs play. Think of the Spurs.
Okay.
Like nothing flashy, nothing fancy, really calm, really collected, fundamentally sound. That's the kind of football he's going to play at Manchester United.
Okay.
So it's interesting to see who he's going to bring in as far as transfers go, because now he's got the summer to sort of find some new players. Reports are saying that he might be trying to get Willian, who plays for Chelsea, the Brazilian. So maybe he'll try and swing some players who are at Chelsea now that really liked him over to Manchester United. But the biggest free agent in world football this year is the living legend, the Swedish masterpiece, Zlatan Ibrahimovic.
Yeah, Ibrahimovic, he's a monster.
Literally, he's like 6'5". He's just a beast.
Yeah, he's big for a soccer player.
Yeah, definitely really physical. And
getting him over there in Manchester United, if that's a possibility, that would be a great move by him.
Yeah, he has the history with Mourinho. I used to play with him at Inter Milan. A lot of success there. Ibra came out and said that he talks to Jose Mourinho every single day. I mean,
yeah.
he's got the connection there with Mourinho and Ibrahimovic. And I realize the age is a little scary with Ibrahimovic. He's 34 years old.
Mm-hmm. He's still playing at a really high level.
Exactly. At PSG, he scored. He's scoring 40+ goals every year. And Ibrahimovic in his last 10 seasons between Inter Milan, Barcelona, PSG. etc. He's won 9 leagues. He's only not won the league 1 year in 10 years, and he finished second that year. Mm-hmm. So he's got that leadership. He's got that experience. He's a living legend. He's never come to the Premier League. He already announced he's going to leave PSG, which is his current club in France. And he already said that he has picked his destination of where he wants to go next. He just has not revealed it yet. So it's interesting to see where he'll go. All signs are pointing to Manchester United, especially now that Mourinho's there, which, as I mentioned, I'm an Arsenal fan, which is scary. Because Ibrahimovic in the Premier League and at Manchester United is just a nightmare for every club not named Manchester United.
That's very true. And with the addition of the new manager, too, a lot of guys have them as the favorite to win the title this year. And that's before any moves
really
over.
Consider that, because I feel like this season coming up in the Premier League, a lot of it's going to determine about if some people stay or go at certain clubs like Leicester City. N'Golo Kante's rumored he might leave. Riyad Mahrez might leave. I feel like Vardy will probably stay there, but you never know. So I hope Leicester City keep their core.
I think Kante's going to leave.
I don't know, maybe. Arsenal are looking at him. I would take him.
Get a big payday.
Yeah. His release clause is about £20 million.
Exactly. So, I mean, just to start, just there, it's already a good, a nice payday, just that alone.
Yeah, so I feel like I hope Leicester City keep their players for sheer competition. But with this season in the Premier League, with Mourinho coming into Man United,
it's going to be a crazy season.
With a chance that Ibrahimovic comes into Man United, you have Klopp at Liverpool. He really turned them around. He was in the Europa League final. He lost to Sevilla, but they're definitely doing better things with Klopp now. You have Manchester City with Pep Guardiola coming in, who used to coach at Bayern Munich this season, the last few seasons, and in Barcelona before that. So this Premier League season could be such a competitive one. I mean, there's honestly 6-7 teams who could compete for the top 4 spots. Arsenal, Chelsea is going to try and come back. I feel like they'll rebound from their bad season. Tottenham Hotspur, as much as I hate them, are a really good club. Liverpool, both United and Manchester City are great clubs. West Ham did really well. Southampton's still there. They have a good core. They really play hard. So with Mourinho coming in at Manchester United, it's definitely an improvement, in my opinion, over Van Gaal. Van Gaal I just feel like he never really won over that city, and he really never won over the fans and the job, and that really hurt him because a lot of his players he brought in, as I mentioned, like Memphis Depay is one of them, paid a lot for him, and he really had a disappointing season. Martial played great. He's really young. He's a really good player, but with Mourinho there, I feel like they're going to be a lot better. If Ibrahimovic gets there, I'm scared.
Yeah, I think he could really round that team off, and they could really make some noise in the Premier League there. I think it's going to be a really interesting season.
Yeah,
really,
I cannot wait. 3 months can't come any sooner.
Well, I know what you mean. Yeah, because the Premier League starts, football starts.
Yeah, it's definitely August,
Preseason
September.
Basketball starts, and the new Kings Arena opens up out here. I'm pumped.
All right, well, that's going to conclude everything for this episode of the Golden State Media Concept Soccer Podcast. I am Ben.
And joined by Alex.
And we would like to thank you for listening, and make sure that you follow gsmcpodcast.com. We also have a Twitter, Facebook, everything you need to know, not just on the website, links to get you onto everything. There's a ton of other podcasts as well. Alex and I do the sports one. There's football. There's baseball coming up. We have everything, not just sports included. There's also like health and wellness,
and cooking,
movies,
relationships,
Weekender,
news,
weird news,
tech,
social media news,
television,
sci-fi.
Oh, you said weird news already. You said social media news?
Yes.
Did you get all of them?
Well, all the non-sports ones I think we did.
Yeah, and fashion, beauty tips. That's what we missed.
Okay, well, anyways, there's a ton of them. Make sure you go on to gsmcpodcast.com. Make sure you look at all of them. Make sure you click on all the links.
And you can find us at Golden State Media, GSMC_soccer on Twitter as well.
Make sure you follow that. Direct links to all the episodes we do. We'll be tweeting on their thoughts about certain things, topics, etc. Everything's great here. You're going to make sure you want to follow everything, listen. And we will be back next week with another episode here of this GSMC Soccer Podcast. As again, I'm Ben.
And I'm Alex. And don't forget about us.
And make sure you don't forget about us especially. But thank you for listening, and we will be back next week. Have a good week, everybody. Goodbye.
Bye.